Hey, welcome back to the Spot for Euro Fantasy. I'm Asa Rehman. I hope your fantasy team is doing all right. Whether you're thriving or barely surviving, you have three options heading into match day 2. You can use your Limitless chip, you can use your Wildcard chip, or you can stick to the script and just make 2 transfers heading into match day 2. We'll talk about your options right here on the Spot. Well, thank you so much for your support. Please like these videos and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. All right, the first thing I want to know from you is what you think of the Euro Fantasy game. How does it compare to the FPL game? Do you prefer it? Let me know in the comments below or hit me up on Twitter at @thespot4ff. Now, 2 things that I want to focus on heading into this video. So we'll get to my Limitless strategy, wildcard as well, and then the 2 transfers. I'm going to go over the 3 options that I have for my team in this video. But first, we have to acknowledge things we got right and things we got wrong. So I'm going to start things off here with one thing that I think I got right, and that is really optimizing your entire team. How many people playing this game use their entire roster, use all their subs? Yeah, I think most people did. That means it's good to have a well-rounded team because you're going to be calling on those players from the bench. So that's Luis Nego's strategy and 4 million euros. I don't think it was a wise one. I mentioned that going into match day 1, and I think that came true. I think it was better off to split that money and find a way to get more valuable assets spread out throughout your lineup. One thing I got wrong, a lot of people got wrong, was Owen Wijndal. So just generally speaking, figuring out and understanding who's starting. So Owen Wijndal of the Netherlands was slotted to start. A lot of people thought he was going to start. I doubted this, and I should have stuck to my gut instincts and pulled him out of my lineup, dropped him from the team altogether because he did not start for the Netherlands. Came off the bench though, played just over 20 minutes, but a few people messaged me, called me even, asking about their lineup, and that was the first thing I mentioned is I just don't trust that situation. I know that he was starting in those friendlies leading up to the tournament, but I didn't think that he was a better player than Patrick Van Aanholt, and my initial team had Van Aanholt. I should have stuck to that, or maybe even not, just avoided that situation completely and gone a different direction. But when it came down to it at the deadline, 4.5 million euros, I thought it was decent value, and I just stuck with it, but I should have pivoted there. So that's one thing that I got wrong, and I think that's important to understand when you're assessing your team heading into match day 2. Figure out which assessments you got wrong completely, and then that'll help determine whether or not you should use your Limitless chip, your Wildcard chip, or stick to the script and just make those 2 transfers. Understand where you went wrong, and as opposed to just being unlucky with your selections. Okay, before we get to my wildcard team for match day 2, I'm very excited to announce that the Spot has partnered with the Kickoff Coffee Company. Football, coffee, it's perfect fit, and I'm all over it, especially with these back-to-back match days throughout the week, 7 days a week. I know I could use that extra kick of caffeine. I'm sure you could too. So if you use the promo code SPOT15 on their website to get 15% off of your purchases, the details are in the description. Also pleased to announce that I mentioned in the last video there would be a prize for the top team in our Euro Fantasy League. Well, the top team will be getting a prize pack from the Kickoff Coffee Company as well. So pretty exciting news. If you haven't joined that league already, you probably should. There's some incentive now. And now let's get to that wildcard team. All right, the first thing I need to do is address that goalkeeper position. I'm going to be swapping both of them because with the wildcard, I can make unlimited transfers. So first one out is Stola Dimitrievski of North Macedonia, and the one I'm going to replace him with is staring me in the face there. Lucas Radecki. Should have had him last week, would have picked up those 13 points. Didn't, regretting that obviously. Kasper Schmeichel, you're out as well. He's taking on Belgium. Don't love that matchup, so I'm going to opt out. Try to get someone a little bit cheaper if I can. He's at 5 million euros, and there are some options there. Let's go with a safe bet, I guess. Unai Simon of Spain, also 5 million euros. So it's a straight swap, but at least I'm confident that they can pick up another clean sheet. And then Alioski is out as well. So that's the first defender that I'm going to replace. And Thomas Meunier, 5.5 million euros, 15 points from that opening match day. So I'm going to go with that. Andy Robertson, you're out as well. This is a little bit tough because I was high on some of these players. Spinazzola looked amazing for Italy, though, against Turkey. So I'm going to insert him into the lineup. That's a straight swap, 5.5 each for those two. And then Alexander Zinchenko. He played a little bit more advanced as I expected, but wasn't as involved in the attack. So Zinchenko's out. Vladimir Sufal was fairly active. 5 million euros for him. Picked up 9 points in their first match. So that's a decent option. Could go that route if I want to. Denzel Dumfries looks very good. 5.5 million euros for him. 7 points. Could have had another goal earlier in that match, so I'm going to slot him in there. So those are the first 3 defenders. Then Hinteregger was hopeful. He looked okay, but let's see what we can do. Let's see if we can improve that position as well. Kyle Walker was okay. Actually, the English defenders were okay. I mean, he struggled a little bit in the match, but fantasy-wise, Kyle Walker was all right, and there's always potential to get an assist well. But Boyata, back to Belgium. That's great value, 4.5, so I'm saving a bit of cash there. Wijndal needs to come out because he doesn't start for the Netherlands. I don't think he will for the next match either. Pau Torres, 4.5 million euros. I like that. So I feel a lot more confidence in that back four, that back five, as well, if you include Meunier, who's on the bench currently. But again, the ability to swap players out enables me to put Meunier in as needed. All right, let's move to the midfield now and see how we can improve our midfielders from what was a pretty disappointing first match day for me. And Calhanoglu, I was high on him. I was hopeful, really. They didn't get enough of the ball. He didn't touch the ball enough in that first match against Italy. I'd be tempted to keep him, I guess, if in the 2 transfer situation. That's going to be interesting. I'm going to get to that a little bit later on. But for the full wild card, straight swap across the board, yeah, he's out. Insigne looked amazing for the same price. Way better value, way better player. So I'm going to go with Insigne. And that captaincy just sitting there for the time being. Ferran Torres actually looked pretty good for Spain, even though they didn't score. He was in an advanced position, so opportunities for him to score. But I'm going to go with Wijnaldum instead of Yuri Tielemans. Wijnaldum getting a goal for the Netherlands, one of the 3 goals that the Netherlands scored, and he looked active and involved as well. So Wijnaldum at 8 million euros, I think is pretty good value. Berardi looked solid at 6 million euros. I think I'm going to have to keep that. So that's pretty good for the midfielders. I'm going to keep Pogba as well because of the matchup against Hungary. So let's move on to the forwards then. And the first one to switch out, you saw it there briefly. Cristiano Ronaldo out, even though he had a great showing against Hungary, late anyway. So he's out, and he's replaced by Lukaku. Then the next one would be Memphis Depay, out for, it's Weghorst, who did get a goal for the Netherlands. So he saved a bit of cash there. And that, that looks pretty good. Then I'm able to go with Lukaku and Weghorst. Those 2 forwards costing just 8 million euros. And we got a little bit of wiggle room then for Kramaric, who I didn't mind. He started. He played a fair bit. Croatia didn't do enough against England, so it's hard to really assess that and understand, how involved he'd be in their next match. So I'd be tempted to keep Kramaric as well in the regular team that we just swapped 2 out. But for the purpose of this exercise, to look at the wildcard team, I've got a little bit more money to work with, so I may as well explore these options and see how I can use that money and improve that position and get someone instead of Kramaric. Marcus Berg looked all right. Him and Isak for Sweden both played. They played okay together. So either of those 2 would be interesting. I'd be tempted by either of those 2 players. Timo Pukki, I didn't see enough from him, even though that's pretty good value at 7 million euros. Lyndon Dykes looked okay for Scotland. At times looked better when Shea Adams was on the park. Adams didn't start, came on at the second half, so that's another situation that I have to monitor heading into match day 2. Calvert-Lewin coming on off the bench late. There you see Scott briefly. Let's go back to the top, and there's the guy, Schick. Hard to ignore that. 8 million euros. Got the goal of the tournament so far. I imagine it will be in the end. I can't see anyone beating that goal that he scored from just over half. Some other interesting options, but I'll have to go back to Schick at 8 million euros. That's the one I'm going to go with. And I feel pretty good about that group there. Weghorst, Schick, and Lukaku, the 3 forwards. A lot of changes, though. 12 changes. Goodness me. How bad was my first team that I have to make 12 changes? Okay, now let's look at the Limitless option. A lot of fun. Limitless. Best name, too. This is so exciting because you can make unlimited changes for just one game week, and there's no budget. So let's swap everybody out if we can. Yeah, definitely Dimitrievski. You're out, and without a budget for Limitless, take your pick. You can choose whoever you like. So we're going to sort this by total points and goalkeepers, and we're looking at all of them, and you can't get distracted by, I guess, the total points because you just want a keeper in a good situation. And Thibaut Courtois for Belgium up against Denmark, I like that for match day 2. And again, you just have him for the one match day, so you just take the best matchup for match day 2. Kasper Schmeichel, we just talked about. Denmark and Belgium, he's on the opposite end there. We're going to pull him out and go with Donnarumma against Switzerland. Why not? That's pretty good. 5.5 million euros, but the price doesn't matter. We're picking whoever we like. Obviously, Alioski's out. Let's just get Meunier again, right? I mean, he's right there. Spinazzola. Both of those guys, 5.5 million euros, both looking pretty good so far in this competition. And with the Limitless chip, it doesn't matter how much they cost. So we've got Meunier back in, and Andy Robertson looked okay, but you're out. If you didn't make the wildcard team, you're probably not making the Limitless team. Spinazzola's in. I mentioned before how much I like him, scoring 9 points. He had a chance to get more than that as well, believe it or not, but he looked very good for Italy. Zinchenko, even though that North Macedonia fixture is intriguing, yeah, let's keep him in there for now, just for the sake of it. Let's move Hinteregger out, mostly because of matchup. Denzel Dumfries, that's a good matchup, 5.5 million euros, so we slot him in there. Wijndal, yeah, you're out. Don't want to see you for a while, unless you start playing again for the Netherlands, but we'll wait and see. Not staying up late worrying about that. Laporte's in as your replacement, Wijndal. 6 million euros. The price doesn't matter. Çalhanoğlu out as well. 8.5 million euros for him. Let's see what we can find as a replacement. Raheem Sterling, 9.5 million for the midfielder. He scored. He started. He was active. I'm taking it for this team. Why not? Berardi, even though he's great value, we don't need value in this game, so we're going to get Insigne instead at 8.5 million euros because Insigne looked amazing for Italy. Ferran Torres looked good in an advanced role for Spain, but I'm a little bit worried that they might try something else, whereas I'm not worried at all about Wijnaldum's status with the Netherlands. He will play, and I'm hoping that he will produce for this team. And another midfielder we can go with, and a lot of really good options. Some players playing really prominent roles like Mason Mount for England. He had an opportunity to maybe pick up some assists in that game as well against Croatia, but it didn't come off for him. Gareth Bale, didn't see enough from him, so I'm not going that route. Modric looked good early on in their match against England, but then started to fall further back as that game wore on. John McGinn looked really good for Scotland, but I don't like that matchup against England. And yeah, there's a lot of interesting options here, but now we're getting to some value picks. And we probably want to get someone that costs a little bit more. And there's one player that actually stood out to me. He had a chance to score an early goal for England. That's Phil Foden at 8 million euros. Let's slot him in there because I think that he looked really good for England, and I think that he'll start that next game as well. Whereas we had some concerns about that starting 11 for England. I think we have a clearer picture now, and I believe that Phil Foden's part of it. Pogba has a great matchup against Hungary, so we will keep him in. Cristiano Ronaldo, tough to pull him out of a lineup at 12 million euros. It doesn't matter how much they cost. We've mentioned that a few times. So we could just keep him in there. Depay, Kramaric, those two are probably going to move. But let's see what we can do instead of Cristiano Ronaldo. Another good matchup. I actually just mentioned Paul Pogba going up against Hungary. So let's stay right there. Let's get Kylian Mbappe at 12 million euros. So I got Pogba and Mbappe. Use two France players. I believe that they're going to be looking to score some goals against Hungary, especially after Portugal picked up a 3-0 win. So let's get Griezmann as well. So then I'll go with Pogba, Mbappe, and Griezmann for France. And we can keep Memphis Depay for the time being. A lot of changes, but no budget, so let's do it. Okay, now for the very boring but practical option of just using my 2 transfers. First one out, it's very clear, Owen Wijndal of the Netherlands, just not starting for the Dutch. So let's improve that position. And we've got some options, obviously. We've mentioned Spinazzola and Meunier a few times, Denzel Dumfries as well. And if we're just going like for like as far as Dutch defenders go, Dumfries very active. I like that matchup against Austria. So 5.5 million euros for the defender is a little bit more, 1 million more than Wijndal, but he's playing and he's producing. So I like that option. That means we have to spend a little bit less. We have less to work with. So instead of Hakan Çalhanoğlu at 8.5, we've got to work with 7.5. But that's the position, the midfield group, where I think you can find some value. You can be a little creative and find some interesting options, even at 7.5 million euros. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to spend that money that I ate up with a defender and try to find a value pick at 7.5 million euros in the midfield. So I've set that limit there. So we've capped it at 7.5 million. Calvin Phillips looked great in that match. Picks up the assist as well, and that's why he earned 6 points in their game against Croatia. But he plays on the edge as well, so I wouldn't be surprised if he picks up yellow. I don't like that risk, even though I think he's pretty good value. Mason Mount, his teammate, 7 million euros, just 3 points in that game, but an option or opportunity to score and create as well. And against Scotland, I think he's an opportunity to really show up and have a big performance. We didn't see it in that first game against Croatia, but he still looked okay. Just didn't get the fantasy points we would have liked. So Hakan Çalhanoğlu, for the time being, let's keep him there because he has a more favorable matchup, and it's tough to assess him after that game against Italy where Turkey just didn't touch the ball enough. Let's see what else we could do. See if we can save some money elsewhere and target a different area so that we can, I guess, have some or keep the rest of the 11 or the rest of the attacking players. And the way to do that would be to avoid that matchup for Kasper Schmeichel against Belgium and swap Schmeichel out for Lukas Radecki, who got 13 points. I don't imagine he'll get another 13 points in this tournament, but for the sake of saving some money, that's one way I can go. But I think the better option is to improve that midfield position. So let's go back to that and see who we can use to replace Hakan Çalhanoğlu. And David Alaba looked very good for Austria at times, but I don't think I'd use him here. I think that's a tougher matchup, obviously, against the Netherlands. Mason Mount's one that I'd like to make a move on. Kamara looked okay in their game, but a tougher matchup. And Ekdal, I was thinking about him earlier. Golovin. He flashed on the screen there for a moment, but Golovin, the Russian, plays just behind the front, and he covers a lot of ground. This would be a differential play at 7.5 million euros. It was a tough opening fixture for them, so potentially a better result in matchday 2 against Finland. I might be leaning towards that. I think that's what I'm going to slot in for now. We put Schmeichel back in to the group. So for the time being, I'm going to go with Golovin. And I do have other options, so I'm going to have to mull this over. But that's how my team would look for the time being. And I'll be keeping Pogba on the bench there. Something to think about. Okay, so I have some difficult decisions to make over the next few hours. I'll be revealing my final selection on my social channels on Instagram, on Twitter, on TikTok, so make sure you follow @thespot4ff. And if you have any questions about your lineup, let me know in the comments below or hit me up on Twitter @thespot4ff. And make sure you join the league as well. The league code is right there. It's also in the description. The winner gets a prize pack from the Kickoff Coffee Company. Thanks so much for that. Enjoy the rest of your week, your weekend, whatever you're doing. Do it safely. Thanks so much for hanging out at The Spot.